Shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker here. Redbeard and I and the rest of the Shout Out team pray you are having an amazing, incredible, and wonderful day. Welcome to Shout Out from the Pit, where we bring edutaining stories and topics designed to spread hope, love, and inspiration. If you have a resource, topic, questions, or would like to be a guest on our show to share your experience, strength, and hope, hit us up at shoutoutfromthepit.com. Just let us know what hurt, habit, or hang-up you overcame and what you do to maintain a healthy, happy, and productive life today. And shout out to Robin, Blake, and Jonathan for the great content y'all provide on the Facebook page. Folks, you know we're all tired of the world's drama. Hit up our page, like, follow, and share hope, inspiration, and funny but clean material. Remember GIGO, garbage in leads to garbage out, or good in leads to good out. What we take in our minds shapes our hearts, and therefore what comes out of our mouths. Our fledgling Facebook page continues to grow because of great folks like you. And before I get to our topic, I got to give the folks at Forever Free in North Little Rock a huge shout out. Now, their contact information is in the show notes, but it's foreverfree.org. I checked it out this week, and I'm thoroughly impressed. A friend of the show, Cody, a previous and future guest, invited me. I walked into a crowd of several hundred people and heard more laughter there than a comedy show. Forever Free is a faith-based 12-step recovery program along the lines of everything we talk about on the podcast. Loved it. Especially loved the format of food, a testimony, and small group breakouts. I was able to listen to Clint share his experience, strength, and hope, and man, was I moved. Thanks, Clint, for your amazing recovery story. Hope to have you on the show one day. Oh, and check this out. I ran into a couple of brothers I met during my visits to the prison, and if y'all are listening, we got to get you on the show. You fellas are doing the deal. And on a sad note, Team BS, that's Bob and Shannon, lost our beloved Poquita, a.k.a. Kita, the tiny but mighty Chihuahua. She just about made it to her 20th birthday. Having seen the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven, Shannon and I know we shall see her again. Rest in peace, baby girl. We love you and we miss you. And Danny, the mixed Pyrenees retriever, a regular on the show, is hanging in there at 15 years old. He too misses his little buddy. So for you folks that have lost a pet, truly a family member, you know what we're going through. But as the awesome Freddie Mercury sang, the show must go on. And plug for next week's guest, Charlie, genuinely sharing from the deepest parts of his soul what depression does to a person and how he deals with it. All right, here we go. So today's topic for this brief solo show is another Recovery 101 topic, Promise Keepers. Whew. I promise. You know, I cringe every time I hear a politician, a character in a movie, or anyone for that matter say, I promise. What is a promise? In a nutshell, it's one's word to another. I don't believe I ever had confidence in the word promise. From an early age, I distinctly remember broken promises. Side note, shame on us parents who make promises to our children that A, we don't keep, and B, we never intended to keep in the first place. Making a promise is making a solemn oath. Our word is our bond. And when we give our word, our integrity is on the line. The first thing that is spoken after our names are mentioned is entirely up to us. And I guarantee you it has everything to do with whether or not we're promise keepers or promise breakers. It is far better for us to not make a promise at all if we're not sure before we open our mouths if we can keep our word. I wouldn't even use the word try. It's an implied promise, whether you want to argue it or not. The receiver sees try as a yes. We simply do or do not, as Yoda says. It's okay to get in the habit of saying, I don't know, or say no up front, or just let me think about it. But if we say yes, we better mean it. Now look, I'm only human, so give me some grace. But if somebody breaks their word to me, they're done. I know that sounds really harsh. So I would say pray for me. One of us will change. Okay, yeah, that was snarky too. Apologies. I mean, hey, after all, I am a recovering alcoholic. How many promises have I broken? How many hearts have I broken? It took a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of tears to repair the damages of my past. I am not completely without grace towards others, but there are circles in my life. There's the immediate circle, just me and God. Then the next circle, just Team BS, my wife and me. And then there are extended circles depending on how somebody's word to me goes. That determines which circle that person is in. That's just human nature across the board. If somebody, for instance, breaks their word with me about committing to do something they said they'd do and not even a courtesy heads up or ghost me altogether, I'm done with that person. Hey, I'm sensitive that way, okay? Don't tell me you aren't as well. The worst part is that now I can identify with all the persons I made broken promises to. The good news is that I don't permanently lock people out. It's like the old adage, you do the crime, you do the time. That person, like the former me, has to work, and I repeat, work to move into an inner circle. Hey, fellow sponsors and mentors out there, you'll identify with this. If someone asks us to sponsor or mentor them, and then they ghost us, they're done. All right, temporarily anyway. It just sounds good to say, you're done. Anyway, our recovery literature says something along the lines of, move along, there are others that want help. For those that ghost us, I say Godspeed and holla when you're ready. And I'm sure we all know that person that just can't keep his word or her word. It's like they're unconstitutionally incapable of keeping their word. We love them for whatever reason, but they're always kept at an arm's length away. People let people down. And yes, I've done my share of letting people down. And sadly, I will probably more than likely let somebody down again in the future. So there's a few subjects I want to hit in this brief solo episode. In recovery, we refer to Chapter 6, Into Action, pages 83 and 84 in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous as promises, even though they aren't formally called promises. They outline a vision of peace, purpose, and connection that comes from working the 12 steps. All right, I'm going to share them quickly and then shed light on a few thoughts afterwards. Number 1, we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Number 2, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Number 3, we will comprehend the word serenity. Number 4, we will know peace. Number 5, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Number 6, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Number 7, we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Number 8, self-seeking will slip away. Number 9, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Number 10, fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. Number 11, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And number 12, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. As I said before, you don't have to be an alcoholic for these promises to come true or to apply to you. Whatever label you have, and everybody's got a label, whatever addiction or whatever it is that controls your life, if you can get a handle on that label, these promises apply to you as well. As I mentioned, I want to shed some light on a few thoughts from what I just read. The first is the line, they will always materialize if we work for them. Folks, nothing good just happens. We gotta make them happen. And that requires work. Also in the big book, Appendix 2, Spiritual Experience, work means how. That's H-O-W. Translated to honest, open, and willing. Hey, don't put too much pressure on yourself, especially if you're just beginning your recovery journey and work is a four-letter word to you, if you know what I mean. Just work the basic pillars of recovery, and these will all come. The basics include don't drink and go to meetings, communicate with your sponsor and tribe, and work the steps. Remember, just replace alcohol with your label, and it reads the same. All right, now regarding the 12th promise, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. The key word here is God. Now, a word about God. I know we have atheists on the show, and I've got mad respect for that. Thanks for listening in, but I got to say, I don't know how you do it without acknowledging a power greater than yourself. But hey, if it's working for you, man, keep on keeping on. And then there's folks like the former me, agnostic either way. I've been there. If you're managing to avoid your label without a deep connection to a higher power, rock on. Mad respect for those of you that have a power greater than yourself. I humbly submit that my higher power is Jesus. Of course, I wasn't always a Christian. And please note that Shout Out is a spiritual-based podcast, not a religious one. I happen to be a Christian, but other members of our team have differing relationships with the higher power of their understanding. Respect, love, and tolerance is our code. When it comes to addictions, folks, some of us are in a fight for our lives, and the last thing we're going to do is debate religion. Anyway, I read from the Bible a lot. I don't cringe or associate the Bible as an antithesis to your beliefs. Look at it as you would a book with a moral compass. The Bible reportedly has over 5,000 promises in it, and hat tip to Steve May for doing the research for me in his book, Standing on the Promises. He sources the Dictionary of Bible Themes, where it's noted that there are 5,467 promises in Scripture. Boom. Now, he also makes another interesting observation that I hadn't thought of before. On page 7 of his book, I read, one notable distinction between biblical literature and other historical religious texts, especially those of ancient Greece, is the use of the word promise. In other cultures, it typically refers to a human commitment made to the gods, but rarely to God's commitment to humans. The idea of God's making promises to humans was virtually non-existent. Wow. Okay. Really, the point I want to make is that my higher power, the God of my understanding, makes promises that he cannot break. If he could break those promises, then what God would he be that I would want to serve him at all? There are plenty of scriptures that come to mind, and most of them tell me God will never forsake me. I believe I got into recovery because of God, and I didn't know it. I stay in recovery today because of God, and I know it. And now speaking to men, what kind of a man, a friend, a father, a husband are we if we cannot keep our word? Ladies, you knew this was coming, but the same applies to you. We are just humans. On one hand, it seems like it takes a whole lot of effort to have integrity, a moral compass. On the other hand, it isn't that difficult if we just decide to draw the line in the sand and be what we say we're going to be. It was recommended to me a long time ago to start a buzzword list. I've mentioned this before, and I mention it again. A buzzword list is personal to you. When your name is mentioned, what is it you want people to say about you? Write it down. Is it honesty? Write it down. Now practice being honest. Is it trustworthy? Write it down. Now practice being trustworthy. That list is yours, and you can add to it anytime you want. All right, now let me say something about pink water. Imagine let me start this again. Imagine a glass, if you will, filled with red water. Yeah, I feel like Rod Sterling in the Twilight Zone. Blood is too descriptive, so let's stick with water. That red water is your former life, a life of lies and broken promises. Now introduce your buzzword list, a list of words that are far from lies and broken promises. You're practicing honesty, integrity, work ethic, trustworthiness. And as you practice these things, it's like pouring clear water into the glass and displacing the red water. You are replacing your old habits with new ones, and eventually the shade of red will be almost entirely clear with a taint of pink. It cannot ever be completely clear. We don't want that. We need a reminder of where we came from to motivate us to stay the course of recovery. We must never forget, and that isn't a bad thing. Remember the promises I read earlier, specifically numbers 2 and 5. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. And no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. And if people, places, and things are a problem, consider this. If you can't change your team, change your team. If folks can't respect your desires to change your circumstances, then perhaps it's time to change folks. I know from experience, once I say I'm going to do something, that means that I've considered the pros and the cons. I've learned that I don't have to give an immediate answer. It's not like I'm coming up against an active shooter and I have to make a quick life or death decision. In fact, if someone needs an immediate answer now, my answer is no. Any self-respecting person would give me time to check my calendar and for us married folks to run it past our battle buddies. If yes is going to be my answer, then I've checked my resources, my availability, and I've done everything I need to do before I say yes. And those that I have said yes to can attest that when I say yes, it means yes. I can also say from experience that telling a lie or making false promises takes a whole lot more energy in the long run than having integrity and a moral compass up front and giving your word in the short run. Yes, I have told lies. Surprise! And if you can identify with what we call a log of lies, then you too have walked in my shoes, because once we tell a lie, we have to create another lie to cover that lie, and then a lie to cover the other lie, and the lies continue. And if you've got an amazing brain that can remember all those lies, then you could probably run for a political office. All right, I know I'm being snarky. We all know there are honest politicians out there, but even though, honest politician sounds like an oxymoron. Anyway, the point is that if we're honest in the first place, we don't have to remember anything else or ever worry about remembering a log of lies. All right, whatever or whomever you call your higher power, remember we strive for progress, not perfection. Perfection belongs in the Olympics and with surgeons. I purposely placed emphasis on the latter. The rest of us are trying to make it one day at a time. If you know me, then you know I'm one of the roughest around the edges Christians you'll ever meet. I thank God that God loves me just the way I am and too much to let me stay that way. In this journey that we say we trudge the road of happy destiny, we learn a great deal about ourselves and other folks. We learn to love ourselves, which still sounds bizarre rolling off my tongue, and we learn to love others. We show ourselves grace now rather than beating ourselves up. We show others grace and acceptance where before we held resentments and grudges. We learn not to judge ourselves and not to judge others. We accept that we're fallible human beings just trying to be better persons one day at a time, sometimes one miserable day at a time. The higher power of my understanding promises me that he will never leave me nor forsake me. I take great comfort in knowing that I am not alone. I take great comfort in that as difficult as it may be to maintain a moral compass, that if I do maintain a moral compass to the best of my ability, the God of my understanding will have my back. But that obviously means my will has to be aligned with God's will. I have tried it the other way around. I have tried to bend God's will to my will. It simply didn't work. In truth, it's exhausting. And that old adage of the clay telling the potter what to do rings significantly loud with me. I accept that I was created. I accept that I must surrender and submit. I admit that I am rebellious, but God, like a good parent, when I am rebellious, I do the crime, I do the time. But prayerfully, it's a lesson learned for me, and one that I pray I gain wisdom and understanding from, so that the next time I am provided a dilemma, that I do make a right decision. And the better my decision-making process, the more that my will is in line with God's will, the more content and happier I am. And the more the promises in both the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and in Scripture come true for me. We're all learning to want what we have, and we'll always have what we want. So we keep trudging that road to happy destiny while learning to be promise keepers and ultimately carrying the message by being honest examples, helping others struggling in life to become the best persons they can be. And on that last note, I humbly remind you that you are not alone, and that if nobody's told you they love you today, Team Shoutout loves you. And as always, if you want to feel good about yourself, go out and do something for somebody else. God bless you, and I pray you're having an outstanding American day. This is Bob the Old Rucker. Peace out.